Hello, founders. Welcome. In this video, we are going to be talking about a unique value proposition. And I bring this up because we have applications coming in for our startup funding and sponsorship, pre-seed angel funding. I'm going to talk about this in just a moment. This is part of a series, but don't worry, these are standalones that you can take, that you can use for yourself when you're pitching and when you're raising. This is the tool right here on the screen that I created called the Startup Early Stage Funding Canvas to help you plan out your pre-seed or your seed raise, your early stage, especially if you are a new founder. Want to help you with this, so just follow along. And like I said today, we are going to talk about unique value propositions because that's where everything starts. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, 7-time funding founder with 2 X's. Fancy way of saying I've failed a bunch of times because I've learned more from my mistakes than I have my successes. And that's the reason I share like this, and I'm just very open, transparent. That's to your benefit because I use videos like this and my channel to try and help founders, especially early stage founders, avoid some of the catastrophic mistakes that I've made. Not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but I'm going to try to minimize the pain. I'm also the Chief Strategy Officer for Startups.com, and I've overseen thousands of founders come through our program. I've advised hundreds of founders myself. If you're part of that community, you're joining us, thank you so much. Appreciate your support. If you're not, go check us out, Startups.com. You might be interested. Hang out with me in the community. If you want an advisor like me, we can work together. But let's take a look at this funding canvas. This is for your early stage, and you want to understand what a unique value proposition is. Let's start off with the definition. A UVP is exactly how it sounds. Unique value proposition. You want to explain to your investors how you're unique, how you create value, and how you're proposing. So how your proposition is unique in the marketplace and how you are communicating that in terms of value so that other people see the value. If you do it properly, investors will see the value right away because customers are going to see the value. And that's the reason that your UVP works for both. You have to be able to explain it. Founders come to me all the time. Startups.com, we're having a cohort meeting, and I say, pitch to me your startup, and they ramble on about their backgrounds, and they tell the story, and they say, I wasn't ready for this pitch, or they tell me what their startup does, and we're building an app, we're building an AI, but you're not telling me anything that tells me exactly how you're unique and how you're proposing that you have value. So your unique value proposition always contains the 3 main components that you want investors to understand that you understand. That is the problem, solution, and the market. Flat out, problem, solution, market. So you can say, we help the 10 million people who have toe fungus, I'm just making this up as we go, eliminate toe fungus at 10% of the cost of going to a traditional doctor. Of course, I'm just making this up, right? We help the $17 billion Taylor Swift industry save money on concert tickets and not get ripped off. Who knows? That could be the unique value proposition. You see how it just comes out in one sentence and it's just very, very straight and clear. And most founders don't know how to do that. And the problem is if you're not concise, you don't have confidence in your unique value proposition, investors aren't going to have confidence in you. You're not going to look like that type of founder that can communicate and is showing the signals that you know how to build a unicorn company. Let's continue and let's look on and how you're going to break this down. First, you have to understand that you're going to be talking to investors at different stages. Different stages of investors look at investment deals differently. If you're pitching Andreessen Horowitz, and they are early stage, well, they need a certain amount of traction compared to the angel investor at an early stage. So they're stage investor. And that's the first thing that will eliminate you from an investor is that you don't know how to pitch them at the right stage. You're talking to an investor that invests specifically in pre-seed, then you don't have to have revenue. But if they're seed or they are A, you have to have revenue. And it changes even now. So you need to make sure that you right size the investor and you understand who you're targeting. And there's lots of information out there that'll help you understand what stage they invest. Next is at the bottom, you're going to see key metrics. You have to be ready to share with those investors. So you're going to be sharing key metrics of how users respond to your unique value proposition. And you're going to fill this out. Here we got it right here. What is your unique value proposition? And these are the 4 criteria that I'm looking at. Is it clear, concise, compelling, and contrarian? Let's break that down. Your unique value proposition typically should be 1 sentence if you can get in there. You see how Y Combinator, when you apply, it says, tell us what you're building in like a tweet. 150 characters or less, or 140, 280 characters, I forget what it is, but you have to just be super clear. And if you can cram your unique value proposition in what you do and what you're building in 1 sentence, it is so powerful. You can explain it to the investor and they will get it or not get it right away. And if they get it, then they are so much further along than if you had to drone out and they had to ask you questions and kind of understand what is happening. You want to be sharing in one sentence your problem, solution, market size, not necessarily in that order. You can say, we help the 30 million Taylor Swift fans not get ripped off and get overcharged 300% on their concert tickets, right? Straightforward. You've got the size, scope, severity, problem, solution, market, all baked in. The problem is tickets are expensive. The size of the market, 30 million Taylor Swift fans, right? And here's the solution. We make sure you don't get ripped off. Or we have an app that makes sure you don't get ripped off, or we're using cryptocurrency or whatever. I'm just making all this stuff up because I'm just improvising right there on the spot. Now, if you look, is it clear? Is it concise, compelling, contrarian? So first, you need to make sure it's clear that I understand, me as the investor or the customer understands right from the get-go, oh, that's what you do, right? That's all you need to make sure that it's clear. Then it needs to be concise. If you're using clear language, and that includes you've excluded technical insider language with technical jargon or marketing buzz and fluff that I'm not going to understand. If you are clear, then is it concise? Is it all wrapped up in a one powerful sentence, or have you weighed it down? Is it laden with all the marketing hype and jargon? We are revolutionizing the way that we interface with technology and creating a new existence and reality using the metaverse. You could have just said we're building a metaverse, right? That solves this problem. It's super simple. So you want to make it concise. Typically, when I see founders, they build something and then you can cut it down 50%. Next, is it compelling? Is it a compelling problem that deserves being solved? And this deserves a little more extra time to discuss it. Just because you have a problem, it doesn't mean it's a compelling problem that deserves to be a startup. Let me give you the story that I share all the time. There is a husband and wife, or they're set to get married. So there's a future bridegroom. They are engaged, fiancés. And the bride-to-be, the wife, future wife, she drives a jalopy of a car. The husband is rich. I believe this is an actual true story when I heard it at a seminar. Talked about, is it compelling? She says to her future husband, my car is going to break down. I need a new car. And he says, oh, you can drive it for a little longer. Don't worry about it. And she's like, no, it's kind of really bad. Nah, it's okay. She says, okay. It's not a compelling problem yet for anybody to do anything about. It's just something that'd be nice to have. I talk about this all the time. Is it a vitamin problem, painkiller problem, or is it an antibiotic problem, one that needs an antibiotic or you're going to die? If it's just a vitamin or painkiller, sure, it might be a pain, but it's not compelling enough to do something about, then investors aren't going to be super excited about that. You need to make sure that you show that people want it. So this bride is getting ready for her marriage, and she gets in her car and she goes and gets her makeup done, and she's driving to the chapel to get married, and sure enough, her car breaks down on the side of the road. The groom is waiting in front, and guess what? He's got egg on his face, and he feels kind of like a jerk, a big a-hole in the relationship because he should have bought her the car. And then she shows up. She's flustered. He says, I'm so sorry. And now we need an antibiotic because she's going to kill him, right? If he doesn't solve this problem, she's going to die. Like, this is the rest of your life. This is your marriage. Compelling enough that the next morning there was a new car in the driveway. That's how investors think. Is it compelling enough? Have you explained to me that it's compelling enough that it's a problem that people need to solve? I watched a founder the other day, and he was sharing how he was solving problems that weren't compelling, cool solutions, but they weren't solving real problems. And he was bouncing around, and it just didn't work until he saw a problem that was compelling. And that was that online, there was no way to stream video real time unless you're using an app like YouTube or anything like that. How about streaming video just straight in your webpage? Because more and more people are going to want to do that. And that's a problem because the HTTP, hypertext something relocator or locator protocol, hypertext protocol, is all about text. That's what the purpose of the internet was. He said there's going to be a time when this is a major problem and it's becoming painful that people want to host video right on their web pages without embedding players and all those things. So he went and solved the problem. He's raised millions of dollars, like tens of millions of dollars, and he's doing extremely well. That was a compelling problem. So if your unique value proposition doesn't clearly articulate a compelling problem, well, then it's not unique enough. It's not compelling enough. You're going to have a harder time. But if you don't have a compelling problem, well, here's the next thing that you can add on to make sure that you solve this issue if it's not that compelling. Contrarian. Is it contrarian? Let's talk about this for a moment. Let's use something that's not a compelling problem. I love this example. Let's use liquid death. Liquid death is in a can. It is a can. It looks like an energy drink or a big can of beer. It's got liquid death written on it, and it has like skull graphics, and it's got real graffiti look, and it's water. That is contrarian to the plastic water bottles. And they basically came out and said, death to plastic. Pretty much everyone looked at this can. They're like, are you kidding me? There's water in this can. We have to Instagram it. We have to share it on social media. It went viral. And Liquid Death is a monster hit. Raised tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. CPG in something that's not as compelling of a problem. Drinking water or getting a new brand that sells water is not a compelling problem. I'm just going to be straightforward. But is it contrarian? Is it so wacky that people go, I can't believe it, I got to do it? Dollar Shave Club is another thing. Getting razors delivered to my door is not that compelling, but it's so contrarian because they're $1 each. Would people actually buy it? And it turns out, yeah, they want to buy it. That became a big company. There are many companies out there that say, yeah, our problem may not be as compelling, but we're so contrarian in the market that everybody that already does it is going to come switch to us. Or we're so contrarian that the big companies that are already doing it aren't going to pay attention whatsoever. And that is the best thing that you want to do. You look at a compelling problem and a contrarian value proposition, and now you're winning. So just make sure it's clear and make sure it's concise. Let me give you some tips on practicing your unique value proposition. I'll tell this from my story. When I was a consultant and I was helping companies do business development and product development, MVP, I would go to meetings and networking events, and people would say, Ed, what do you do? I would originally say, well, I'm a consultant. I do product development. I help with strategy. I help launch businesses. And people just kind of gloss over because it's the same me, pitching, selling my stuff to you over and over again. And then I changed it and I would say, I help entrepreneurs monetize vision. Go from 0 to 1. That's straightforward. And they would go, what? And they would ask me, wait a second, say that again. And then I'd have a follow-up and I'd say, you know how entrepreneurs typically are very visionary and they don't know how to make that first dollar. I specialize in making that first dollar so you can go attract investors, you can get other customers, and you can get momentum rolling. I help entrepreneurs go from 0 to 1. I will literally monetize your vision. Now, that is a pitch directly to a customer. And I always advise, if you're pitching investors, don't use language to the customer. But it gives you an idea of how compelling a unique value proposition could be in the sense that I am doing something different. I don't need to have companies that have got millions of dollars. I will literally take a shoestring budget and go from 0 to 1. That was where I was different, contrarian, set myself apart in the market. But the moral of the story is it took me literally months to develop that to the point where people were contacting me and giving me word of mouth referrals. I had to practice it. At the same time, if you have a unique value proposition, you have to practice it. And that's my advice to you. Shape it, mold it, run it through ChatGPT. Say, I need a unique value proposition that comes out in one sentence. How can I make it better? And practice it and pitch it everywhere that you go and do some testing. Test LinkedIn ads, test social media posts, test paid ads. Figure out what are the ones to respond to. On YouTube, I try and put my unique value proposition in a lot of titles and bake that in. YouTube allows me to A/B test and see which ones pull the most and which ones create the most retention. It's right there, the tool. So you have to test it, refine your unique value proposition. Now, let me end by saying this. The reason I'm teaching this funding canvas for early stage startups is because if you're thinking of applying for the angel funding and the sponsorship, I got angel investors that are going to match my investment. I am putting all my YouTube money into investment. I'm going to put that link in the description below and pin the comment. But all my YouTube money, I'm going to dedicate, because I appreciate all you founders making this possible, and I'm going to put it into startups, and I'm going to get investors to match me. And the longer this goes by, every day, I'm pulling a little money, ad revenue from my YouTube videos. You make all this possible. My latest pull, I made $4.80, and you see it's just kind of spiking up. My best days, I think I made $12 one day or $11, and this is really good. So it's going to keep ticking, and I'm going to just chunk all that money in. So if it takes another 100 days to pick a startup that we're going to put money into and the investors all agree, then guess what? I'm going to be able to put in $2,000 plus an additional $2,000 if I get an investor to match if they come along board, and maybe some more. Plus you get lots of sponsorship. Join me at startups.com, which is another $2,400 worth of value. I'm going to give you all the coaching and help you raise more money. But it all starts off with, can you properly submit a unique value proposition? And I made it so that you can submit multiple times. And so if you're watching this video and you say, man, I didn't nail my unique value proposition, and you keep going and testing it and you find one that works, well, then resubmit it to me with the rest of your submission. It's going to take you to actually submit the rest of it. So you want to make sure you keep copies of it laying around so you can cut and paste, then send it to me again, or just shoot me a contact. Let me know in the comments. I appreciate if what you think your unique value proposition is. You want to get feedback, just put it in the comments and say, this is my UVP. What do you think? Let's have other people chime in on it. Let's do it a community way. And then I will continue to add these videos on how you use the early stage funding canvas. And you don't even have to apply through me if you never work with me, but you use that to help you raise investment. I'm teaching other founders to use the canvas itself. That's the intention of this. It's a free tool for you to use. I'm going to put other videos on the screen. There's a playlist for you to watch the other videos to see how the whole thing works. And then I'm going to create modules and videos where I'm going to teach this one by one. The first step here is the unique value proposition. Learn how to put it in one sentence. It combines problem, solution, market. Make sure that it's all those things: clear, concise, compelling, and contrarian. And you're going to be just fine. I look forward to seeing what you've got. Appreciate it. Let me know what you think about this one. I will see you in the next video.